Hey kiddies, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and this week we're going to look at some foggy horror movies.
Foggy day in London.
Alas, it is the end of October for 2016. I'm up to something like 35 horror movies that I've watched, and we've still got about 8 or 9 days left, so I think I can still hit 60. You know, my will is there, so I'm going to power through, and there's still enough time for all of you to get in at least, 31 horror movies. It's just 1 month out of the year. Why are you fighting me on this? Just watch a horror movie a day, and, October will be that much more meaningful for you. And then you can move on to all the other happier things you want to watch later. But, October, this is our month. And so we're going to finish it up with a pretty decent one, I think. Horror movies that revolve around or are just permeated by fog. There's just something creepy about fog because it's like dark but in the daytime. Because in the dark you can't really see what's going on, and so you get a little scared. In the daytime, that's not really a problem, but when there's fog, there's daylight around. You can see, in front of you, but you can't see that much farther, and anything could be lurking inside of it. And that's basically the underlying premise for all the movies on this triple feature. But what they put inside the fog and how they get to the fog and what the fog might be representing, changes from time to time. And I think we got 3 really good ones. So our menu is going to include John Carpenter's The Fog, Silent Hill, and The Mist. So John Carpenter's The Fog was the first movie he made after Halloween, and that was a great success. And for whatever reason, this one was basically a low-budget horror movie. I don't know why they didn't really give him all the money in the world to make his next horror movie, but they didn't, and so we get The Fog, which is the weakest movie on our triple feature this week, I think. It is not bad, but it's just not that great. Much like his later film, Prince of Darkness, he has this great setup and or build-up to the bad guys, but then there's just not as much in the way of payoffs. The movie takes place in Antonio Bay, which is about to celebrate its 100th anniversary. However, the priest, Father Malone, played by Hal Holbrook, discovers an ancient diary of one of his ancestors, saying that 100 years ago to the day, priest and other members of what would eventually become Antonio Bay conspired to trick and murder a whole bunch of lepers into crashing onto the rocks of Antonio Bay instead of being able to safely dock there, just so they could steal their gold and, not have a leper colony about a mile offshore from their lovely town. So, as you can imagine, the lepers and or pirates, privateers? I'm not sure. They always keep referring to them as pirates. The seamen that were drowned and killed as a result of this have come back for bloody revenge, and they're coming in by riding in on fog because we need a premise for the movie. The beginning of the film honestly is the best part of the whole movie. John Houseman's little opening narration is a good little spook story, but it doesn't really add that much to it. But then you have the initial weirdness, the signifier that something is going to go wrong soon, where Carpenter has car alarms going off, phones ringing, electrical systems going out, windows just breaking. It's all moody, and it's in the middle of the night, and it really sets a great tone that is, I want to like this movie a lot more than I do. And it's because there's just not a lot there, because I don't think they had the money to do it, which, again, why didn't they give them the money to do this? So basically you have about an hour of not necessarily filler, but kind of stretching it out. This could have made a really great, Tales from the Crypt or something. It would have been a lot more punchy. But you have, this really interesting, scary stuff in the beginning, nothing happening for, an hour, and then the fog comes back, and the pirates come in, and the pirates are, murdering everybody. Actually, there's one bit, no, because it's in the beginning, yeah. No, the pirates murder a couple people in the beginning, and then we have to wait until they come back around at the end. And don't get me wrong, like all John Carpenter movies, the look of it is stunning. It's just very crisp and sharp, and everything looks good. And credit where credit's due. The lighting of the fog looks amazing. Like, the fog really does become this presence towards the end, and this like scary thing happening, even though it's just fog. The things that should be coming out of the fog to murder all the townspeople never actually really come out of the fog. You see like hands here and there, and like hooks and swords and stuff, but you never really get a good look at them. I think the most you see is like silhouette and red eyes, but you don't really see the monsters, and so it just doesn't have as good a payoff as I'd like. But the cast is incredible because you have the aforementioned John Houseman and Hal Holbrook. Janet Leigh is in there, along with her daughter Jamie Lee Curtis. Nancy Loomis is back. She had been in Assault on Precinct 13 and Halloween, John Carpenter movies. Tom Atkins makes his first John Carpenter appearance in this one, and of course, John Carpenter's at least girlfriend, if not wife at the time, Adrienne Barbeau. But it also sets up a good theme that will play out throughout the rest of this triple feature of the irreligious piety. Religious figures acting in ways that they shouldn't and reaping the horrible, horrible results thereof. Hal Holbrook is priest. His grandfather was one of the people, was also a priest and one of the people that came up with the plan to kill all the poor lepers and steal their gold. And now all these people are dead as a result of it. Next up, we have Christoph Gans' adaptation of Konami Games' Silent Hill, which a lot of people don't like. I think it's one of the best horror movies that has come out in the last 10 years. It is just really disturbing, really well-paced, and just, you don't get a lot of movies with an almost entirely female cast. The movie was initially intended to have nothing but women as the characters, and then the producers complained, and so they added 2 guys. And it's sort of funny because the 2 guys, played by Kim Coates and Sean Bean, playing a police detective, and the main character, Rose Da Silva's husband. Rose Da Silva played by the wonderful Radha Mitchell. These 2 guys basically make the movie pass or fails the anti-Bechdel test. You know, the Bechdel-Wallace test. It's any work of fiction, but especially movies or television, in which to pass the test, the movie has to have 2 named female characters that have a conversation about something other than either of their boyfriends, or preferably just not about a man. In the movie, Sean Bean and Kim Coates only ever talk about Sean Bean's wife throughout the whole movie, so it's kind of funny. Rose and Chris had adopted a girl, Sharon, and Sharon is having terrible nightmares and sleepwalking, and constantly talking about a town called Silent Hill. Rose brings Sharon there to try to work through whatever psychological issues that she has. But as it turns out, Silent Hill is not really a place so much as a state of mind. The town had a horrible coal fire that is still going, and everybody died except Rose and Sharon and another police officer, Sybil Bennett, played by Laurie Holden, end up in Silent Hill where there's all these people, and it's basically a horror show. It's basically, Silent Hill is hell, and so all these characters have found their way into hell with all these townspeople that are trapped in hell. And Silent Hill, the good times in Silent Hill are when you are surrounded by a dense fog that is hiding all sorts of monsters that you don't notice until the last second, as opposed to the worst time in Silent Hill when everything goes black and the monsters are out and about, you can't see anything, and then all of a sudden Pyramid Head is pulling all of your skin off your body. So, yeah, Silent Hill. Come for the scary fog of uncertainty. Stay for the monsters that are going to kill you, and so you can't leave. I think this is I thought it was a pretty good adaptation of the video games in terms of, the psychological aspect of you find your own hell in Silent Hill, like whenever you go there. But it also just had all the characters, everything looked the way it was supposed to look. Full credit going out to Carol Spear, the production designer, because how she and her team managed to make Silent Hill an actual physical reality is beyond me. Monsters look great, and again we have this the religion gone horribly wrong theme playing out in this one, with the townsfolk of Silent Hill having tried to murder a young child because they thought she was a witch, and all of that literally blowing up in their faces forever. The movie is sort of tonally a little weird because like with the exception of Officer Bennett, nobody seems to be freaking out nearly as much as they should be when you consider all the things that are going on. Like there's no radio contact, all the roads have been seemingly destroyed overnight. There's this fog that never goes away, and then monsters come when it randomly turns to night whenever you want to. But it's like a really great horror movie because it's just very gory and it pulls no punches. Really love that Silent Hill. And the fog. This fog is going through all throughout the movie, where you just makes the whole place seem even more like a ghost town than, it actually being a ghost town. So yeah, Silent Hill. Good foggy horror. Finally, we have The Mist. Frank Darabont's adaptation of the novella by Stephen King. This is the same team that gave us The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, and I saved The Mist for the last movie of October this year because The Mist is one of the scariest, most disturbing horror movies I've ever seen. If you can, track down the DVD set that has the black and white version, because the black and white version just looks a smidge better. It looks perfectly fine in color, but the black and white just adds to the bleak, 50s horror movie gone horribly, horribly right sense to it. In this movie, the townsfolk of Bridgeton, Maine, because of course it's another New England town, it's a Stephen King story, are dealing with the after effects of a really bad thunderstorm the night before. As a result of the thunderstorm, there's apparently a mist kind of slowly oozing its way all over the town. Our main characters are at a supermarket getting supplies because, power outages. When the mist overtakes the supermarket and a few men run in desperately warning everybody that there's something in the mist. And oh, there are things in the mist. I mean, there are so many things in the mist. It's really, really it's really disturbing. One of the great aspects of this film is it sort of runs the whole range of every different type of monster you could think of. I mean, we have every varying degree of insect, including like flying insects, spiders. We have giant lizard things. We have cyclopean H.P. Lovecraft leviathans wandering around. There are tentacles, attached to something in addition to just the mist and not knowing what it is, where it came from, how far it's gone, or if it's ever going to go away. That's only the superficial problem. The underlying problem is you're trapped with all of your friends and neighbors, and when things start going wrong, all your friends and neighbors are a bit crazier than you had ever expected, especially Mrs. Carmody, played to great effect by Marcia Gay Harden, who builds everybody up into a religious fervor until everybody is going after everybody else, and the only thing scarier than the monsters outside are the monsters inside. I don't want to give too much away for this movie other than to say that it is terrifying. You should watch it with the lights out. Let the ending happen. Let it happen. Let it wash over you. And remember that nothing will ever be good ever again. It's really great. The cast for this is incredible. The writing, as always, Stephen King does the great writing, and then Frank Darabont just elevates the material even farther. He actually came up with the ending for this movie. The ending in the movie The Mist is not the ending in the novella, and when Stephen King read the script, he was so pissed off that Frank outdid him. The cast is wonderful. You got Tom Jane, Andre Brower, Francis Sternhagen, Toby Jones, Bill Sadler, of course, from Shawshank Redemption. But you also get sort of the beginnings of what would be the first season of The Walking Dead, which was also produced and written by Frank Darabont, at least the first season, because you have Laurie Holden, Jeffrey DeMunn, and Melissa McBride, who would later become regulars on The Walking Dead and all be really, really great additions to that show. Oh, The Mist. Oh, The Mist really messed me up the first time I saw it. I cannot recommend that movie enough. All these movies are pretty good. Even The Fog is good. But so watch The Fog because John Carpenter, and even when he's not great, he's good. Watch Silent Hill despite what everybody else says because you trust me when it comes to horror movies. And watch The Mist because everybody should see the absolute depths of nihilistic despair. for Halloween. I'll see you next week. Not guaranteeing it won't be horror movies because I tend to like to just keep going with the horror movies, especially at the end of October, because why should it have to end? Either way, I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday, and I'll see you next week.